It was an evening that shimmered with elegance, a black-tie charity gala in one of New York's most prestigious venues. The glint of crystal chandeliers reflected off the polished marble floors, and the room was filled with the hum of quiet conversations, the soft clink of glasses, and the rustling of silk gowns and sharp tuxedos. For many, it was an event to network, to flaunt their success, and to show their support for a cause. For Barron Trump, it was just another evening spent in the public eye. But tonight, there was something different. Barron, now a young man in his late teens, entered the grand hall with the same calm demeanor he'd carried with him for years. Dressed in a sharp suit that seemed to fit the occasion perfectly, he wasn't the usual guest who blended in. What made him stand out was the bright red "Make America Great Again" hat perched atop his head, a symbol that had once been worn by his father, the former president. He wore it not as a political statement, but as a piece of his identity, quiet, composed, and unfazed by the attention it would inevitably draw. As Barron made his way across the room, the reactions were immediate. Whispers rippled through the crowd like a sudden breeze. Eyes darted towards him, some filled with curiosity, others with disapproval. The gala was known for its high-profile guests, celebrities, philanthropists, and power brokers, many of whom had their own views on the political landscape. The sight of a MAGA hat at such an event was a rare, and for some, an uncomfortable anomaly. A few people exchanged glances, some muttering about the audacity of it. Barron, however, paid no mind to their stares. He didn't come for attention or for arguments. He came for the cause. The charity being supported tonight was one close to his heart, fighting childhood hunger, providing education, and giving young people the opportunities to succeed. He believed in those causes, even if others didn't agree with the politics that had once been associated with his family. As the evening wore on, the murmurs grew louder. A group of influential figures standing by the bar began discussing Barron's presence. Some were vocal in their disapproval of his hat, questioning how someone so closely tied to his father's politics could dare to show up in such a symbol. Others stood in quiet judgment, unsure of what to make of this young man who was so different from the usual attendees. But Barron didn't flinch. He didn't try to defend his choice or explain himself. Instead, he made his way to the stage. A moment later, the microphone was in his hand. He looked out over the crowd, his expression calm but resolute. The room fell silent. "I know my presence here might make some of you uncomfortable," Barron began, his voice steady and clear. "I know that my hat might spark disagreement, but that's not why I'm here tonight. I'm here because there's a greater cause, one that transcends politics, one that calls for all of us to come together for the betterment of others. Tonight isn't about my beliefs. It's about making a difference. It's about changing lives." The room was still. There was no backlash, no immediate applause, just a collective pause. Barron's words hung in the air, and for a moment, the weight of the gala's purpose seemed to settle over everyone present. Then, with a deliberate calm, Barron turned his attention to the auction tables. High-value items were being sold, art, trips, exclusive experiences, but Barron wasn't here for the prizes. He wasn't interested in buying something for himself. Instead, he raised his hand. A moment later, the auctioneer's voice boomed across the room. "I'll take the painting for $1 million, Barron said, his tone quiet but firm. The crowd murmured in surprise. Well, that wasn't just any bid. That was a bid that could change everything. The auctioneer's eyes widened and the bidding war halted. In a room full of wealthy donors, Barron's sudden offer was more than just a display of wealth. It was a statement. He wasn't buying the painting for himself. He was buying it to use it for the cause. Barron understood the power of money, but more importantly, he understood the power of perception. He didn't stop there. Over the next hour, Barron made several more bids. Each time the numbers grew higher, but his purpose remained unchanged. He wasn't here to show off or to make a spectacle of his family's wealth. Instead, he was using the very thing that had made him a target, his association with a controversial political figure, as a bridge to bring people together. The more he contributed, the more the atmosphere began to shift. By the end of the evening, the auction had raised millions. Barron stood in the center of it all, his hat still on his head, but now there was a shift in the room. The whispers had quieted. The disapproving glances had softened. Instead, people started to see something else. A young man who, despite the political symbol that divided many, was using his resources to change lives. His actions spoke louder than any words could. As the gala came to a close, a few guests approached Barron. They didn't ask about his politics or the hat. Instead, they thanked him, genuinely, for the difference he'd made that night. The legacy of the evening wasn't about one man's beliefs or his family's name. It was about the charitable cause, the millions raised, and the lives that would be touché.